Thank you, Anne, for doing a great job of chairing your first session, and also to all the helpers for this afternoon's sessions. So we've been doing 50 of these things, and various people were quite keen that I should do some kind of retrospective. I decided that I couldn't possibly say anything as interesting as the content of 50, the technical content of 50 UKNOFs. So I'm going to keep this short before I do the usual wrap-up before you get your beer. I first thought of doing 50 UKNOF. Started doing UKNOF about 20 years ago, but my employer at the time wasn't so keen on the idea. But certainly when we started it in 2005, I did not expect we'd still be doing it 17 years later. So hands up, everybody who was at the first UKNOF. I know there's a few of you here. Yep, well done. Thank you for your loyalty and endurance. But no, a lot of it has been fun. You know, we have built our own unique and supportive community. I think we've learned a load of stuff, so it's been good. To summarise in some numbers, this is our 50th UKNOF meeting. 2 of these 50 actually took place online in the sort of long format, and then we did 6 short format virtual UKNOFs over the past couple of years. All the attendee registrations add up to about 8,500. There have been over 660 speaker presentations, 78 board meetings. We've been to 14 cities and 25 venues in all of these. And yes, the UKNOF curry certainly happened a few dozen times as well. I don't have a count on these. Some high points, before the world went weird, our highest in-person attendance was 360 people at UKNOF33. We were in London Bishopsgate. The highest online attendance after the world went weird was 365 back in May 2020. We had a series of Internet history presentations, so this is the Internet history presentation about the Internet history presentations. Sadly, Rob Bloxhill and Cliff Stanford are not with us anymore, but we were lucky enough to get their take on Internet history. Daniel Carenber and Graham Davis were 2 of the other notable history founders that presented. My YouTube feed regularly reminds me that the UKNOF34 presentation by Tim Robinson on his wireless ISP is the most popular. It's 16,000 views. Brandon does many things for UKNOF, but one of the coolest things that he did was when we were still quite small, he managed to get us into the council chamber of Broadcasting House for UKNOF11. UKNOF32 was pretty cool. I think in many ways that was the biggest amount of planning that went into any UKNOF meeting in Sheffield. There was quite a lot of moving parts to that. It was quite an event in many ways. Also, I think it was in Sheffield. I think our coolest social was the Industry Museum. The coolest catering for a break goes to HP Bristol twice for their full West Country cream teas. And of course, our sponsors have fueled many pints and packets and pints, and indeed. There were some not so high points, which were maybe not so funny at the time. We had a few venue success disasters where there were too many people and we had to maintain a wait list. One of these was when we had to switch to a venue at the last minute. After we dug out the ISDN sockets from the back of the stage, we discovered that it's not a good idea to physically attach the Ethernet switch that is powering all the access points to the stage when the stage is bendy and your presenter is a large person. We also found that football stadiums weren't such great venues. There was one time where in Manchester, after a very long walk across a very empty car park, lunch consisted of entirely fried food. And then we discovered that the sponsor that encouraged us to go to that venue didn't pay. And there was also the Wolves Stadium where the entire meeting was run off one consumer DSL router and line, which didn't go too well. It was great to have some meetings in Edinburgh and Glasgow, but at one point I found myself moderating a rapid-fire DNS discussion between Neil McRae and Jim Reed and realised I was the only person in the room that understood the entire conversation. For you. the other thing that happened in Edinburgh was, I think our first meeting in Edinburgh was just when mobile apps and phones were coming in, and everyone was trying to get around the city, but not realising that it was a lot more three-dimensional than the screens. We didn't lose anybody. No, we lost some people, but not over any vertical drops, fortunately. And then while we were figuring out how to have good productive relationships with sponsors, there were some experiments that didn't go too well, and the guy in Sheffield, again, I think it was, who was encouraging us to monetize all the things, which was not really in line with our mission. And then another venue success disaster was when we finished up in some half-finished office space in Leeds. And it was really easy to set up the network because you could lift all the floor tiles, because that's what network engineers do. You know, the problem was then putting all the floor tiles back in time for people actually being in the room. So yeah, it's been fun, even if it hasn't seemed like it at the time. Looking forward, I think the past 2.5 years have taught us just how essential the internet is to everything. And I think René's talk demonstrates that extremely well. I think all of today's talks demonstrate that keeping the internet open, interoperable, universal, and available is very much a work in progress that we all have to continue. And it's also clear that our industry faces skill shortage challenges, demographic diversity challenges. These are things that we need to address. And I don't think the need for UKNOF's mission has gone away, but the organisation itself must evolve. I'm pleased to see that we have some great new fresh blood and new talent have recently joined both the board and the committees. So I'm looking forward to seeing them take the organisation forward. And I think a nice moment that I had yesterday was when the setup was being done, and I wasn't really doing very much because everybody was just taking care of it, because that's the kind of community that we are. And I can't possibly thank everybody who's been involved in UKNOF, because the contribution is huge. Even just by being here, you're participating. Thanking everybody would miss somebody out, but yeah, it's a really good feeling that we have that community that does that, and we've somehow built this over the past 17 odd years. So that's my retrospective. You may have other versions of the stories that I told you, but this is the point where thanking everybody who made UKNOF50 possible. In particular, our sponsors, ISC as our Drilux sponsor this time, DriveNets, Hilco, and LunApp as our contributor sponsors, and then our patrons who support UKNOF from year to year, A10, Flex Optics, and again, IPv4 Market Group, RIPE NCC, DKICS, Hilco, Global, and ISC, and also, as I mentioned earlier, all the individual contributor patrons as well. Thank you. Please, thanks for all the polling on the Mattermost. It gives the PC feedback to make sure that what they think is a good presentation is what you enjoy as a good presentation as well. In addition, we like logistics and general feedback, suggestions for talks, who was your favourite speaker, things like that. So please go to the other survey there, which is a bit more free form, and you can fill in at your leisure. We have a rolling call for content. Future meetings, in November we'll be doing the annual meeting, which has not got any technical content at all, but that is just basically a chance for anyone who's involved in UKNOF, anyone who's interested in UKNOF, that is your opportunity to see under the hood, see what's going on, give feedback. We're going to do that online. There's just been too many calendar and diary logistical challenges this autumn, so that'll be an online-only event like we did in 2020 and 2020. And then UKNOF 51, we will be back in Manchester Central, on the 3rd and 4th of April. UKNOF 52, again, we're going to go for 2 meetings next year, possibly more than a day, maybe a day and a half. But again, trying to reduce the frequency, because there's still an awful lot of challenges for meeting organisers at the moment in the current climate. So next year we will do 2 rather than 3 meetings in terms of full in-person meetings. Manchester in April. September we may come back here, or we may possibly go to Newcastle. We'll see how that goes. And then finally, I just want to thank everyone that contributes their time and resources to make it working. Bogons, Brandon, rock solid webcast again. Thank you, Tom, for Portfast for delivering the connectivity. All our committees, program committee, the communications committee, all the volunteers and crew that step up, all of our speakers who are all here on their own time and expense. In thanking the board and committees, I'd also like to particularly welcome and thank our new board members and our new PCA members, so we can rotate some fresh blood in. And I think the new PC members have done great today, so thank you for all your chairing and other efforts. If you want to support UKNOF, apart from showing up, there are various ways you can do that. You can sponsor us. We like it if your company can give us money on an annual basis. If you want to be a friend on an individual basis and give us some beer money every month, that's great. And watch out for the call for presentations for content, because we without content we wouldn't have the meetings. That's me finished. I only used up 5 minutes of your beer time. The social is downstairs, sponsored by LANAP. When you leave, please can you make sure that you take your badges and lanyards away with you. We're not going to recycle them. We just want to be careful from a health point of view. So that's it, and see you next time.